finger in his picture.
It's a very formal picture you have up there.
I love how he's like, "Oh, Francois, whenever if you come over, you can have some whiskey." Fuck you, Chris.
Testing.
You guys can get kicked out of his house again.
Okay, I think we're good to go.
Good evening and welcome to CanHammer, your stop for Warhammer 40k from the Great White North. Today's show is episode 168. We're going to talk all about a recent tournament we did called P&P 15.
15 or 16?
15.
15. We already looked this up, discussed it. Where were you, man? So, as usual, I'm your host, Chris, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Darren.
And we have a special guest joining us all the way from Gatineau. We have...
Francois.
Yeah, I was gonna try and never mind. I was like, I say it completely different than you do your name. So, welcome on the show. So Francois has been on a few times before, primarily for Age of Sigmar. So this is your first 40k show.
Yep.
Cool. So do you want to give a brief 40k background for people that may not be aware of who you are and where you come from?
Sure. Well, I've been playing 40k for a very long time. I think I started in 2nd edition, I want to say, 1994. That would have been. But then I took a giant break in the early 2000s until maybe 2016, I want to say, maybe 15. Started playing mostly because I wanted to paint my models, and then got into it more and more. Started coming over to Darren's basement for bat reps and got into the competitive side of 40k that way. And I've been playing tournaments maybe for a year and a half, 2 years now.
Okay.
It's been a lot of fun.
So how many tournaments have you been to so far?
So big ones, I've been to Capital City Bloodbath this past summer. I went to the, damn it, what was it called? It was in May.
CTC?
CTC, thank you. I did really well at that one. I finished 13th. I was really proud of myself.
Congratulations, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That was really good for me. And then a few smaller ones, obviously, like 8 people, 12 people, 16 people.
Right on. Sorry, Darren, you had a question?
Nope. No, I'm just testing I switched over microphones.
Oh, yeah, we heard some kind of commotion. We're like, he's on. So I'll hand it over to Darren to, pay the bills.
Yeah, I just want to thank all our sponsors.
Nope, we can't hear him. His mic's dead.
No, Mike's dead?
He's gone.
He's gone.
Rest in peace, Darren.
We'll just take a quick pause.
Hang on a second. It's actually the stream is actually working. Just the Skype is not working.
Darren, you there?
Yep. Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear
Welcome,
me?
Chat.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back
now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I switched mics, but I didn't switch it on Skype. Anyway, because I've been using the microphone for CanHammer TV, but anyway. Long story short. Okay, so it should be
long story short,
now.
I'll hand it off to Darren to talk about our sponsors.
Yeah, thanks very much to all our sponsors. We've got Dan and Dylan at Red Dragon, of course. We've got Martin at Dyson Decks. We've got Hoyt up at Thunder Games and Gifts, and Dave at Tistaminis. All our patrons, all our subscribers and followers and watchers, and special shout out to the Custodes Collective.
Yeah, all custodies all the time, bro.
Literally.
You're not gold. We don't want you around us.
We did have some haters in the channel before, but they promptly left.
What do you mean? Who was hating? Was it Weber?
No. I won't name them, but,
There were some legit custodies haters?
Yeah. Trollers.
And you're not counting me in that? Okay, cool.
No, I don't think you've ever said anything in that chat.
No. I have nothing to add. When they're like, oh, we're doing an all custodies chat, I was like, I have nothing of value to add. Okay, so I guess today's show we're going to talk all about a tournament that we just attended. It was called P&P 15. For those that don't know, it used to be a tournament series that we kind of started, but now the Red Dragon, which is one of our sponsors in Ottawa, has taken over. The last time we did a show like this, it was 3 rounds ITC. 2,000 points. This time they've moved to 4 rounds, 16 players, so that we had a clear winner. There was nobody with 2 wins. So I guess you're not guaranteed to have somebody on 4 wins, but it's you're not. I guess you're not going to have 2, but you could have less than 1.
Yeah.
So was this your first PnP there, Francois?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, so what'd you think of? Have you played at the Red Dragon before?
No, that was my first time. Well, I went to their old location when they were in the basement before the whole situation with the stairs. This new location is much better because there's natural light in there. So first time at a new place. It's a bit far for me. It's about a 30-minute drive. So unless there's a reason for me to go, I wouldn't end up in that store.
Yeah, it says you're talking to a guy with a 70-minute drive.
Sure, but I live literally less than a kilometer away from the Elmer multi-zone, which Dylan also runs. So I usually go there if I want to go to a store.
And Darren, you were supposed to go, but something happened to you.
Yeah, my good friend of ours having a baby shower, and so my wife got pulled away, and so I could not make it in the end. And the next one I'm in Toronto, so December hopefully.
Excuses.
Yeah, man, you're falling behind. We don't even know if you're good anymore. We're like, does he even play? Like, he didn't go. Is he dodging us? Does he even know how to play?
Yeah.
What's his tournament like?
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah.
It's too bad, man. I was looking forward to maybe playing you on the top table.
I don't want to play your list. Maybe if you took half of the models out, then I could play.
So one of the big things with this show that's kind of neat is we didn't really do a podcast regarding the new Space Marines. A lot of that was I was in no rush because I found them very, I guess not overpowered, but the market online was oversaturated with them. But Francois did play Iron Hands, so
yes,
I want to start off by going through your list. Maybe talking specifically about what the items and the combos do for people that maybe are listening and haven't had a chance to play them yet.
Okay, so my list, I stayed pure Iron Hands. There's a strong argument for taking a successive chapter, but the fluff bunny in me decided to paint. If I was going to cheese it up, I was going to cheese it up in a fluffy way. So I painted them Iron Hands with the proper decals and upgrade sprues and everything. So I played the main Iron Hands chapter, and I decided to run Planes. And I think planes are really, really, really strong with Iron Hands. You get rid of a lot of the issues that Space Marine flyers have. So you're rerolling your ones independently. You're ignoring the penalty for moving and shooting those heavy weapons. So I ran 4 planes, 3 of the interceptors, which I think are the stronger choice. They have 1 more toughness. They are -2 to be hit if whatever's shooting them has fly. And they're actually cheaper with more guns for reasons. So 3 of those, then 1 of the Storm Talon. The other flyer, the one that gets a bonus against ground. I would have liked to go 6 flyers, but I didn't want to buy another 2 before chapter approved because things are still in flux there. If chapter approved doesn't change flyers, I'm going for 6. So the list was 4 flyers, 3 interceptors, 1 Storm Talon. Then I ran 1 Repulsor Executioner, 1 Leviathan Dreadnought, 3 squads of intercessors for a battalion. Then I ran a Primaries Captain, which I made a Chapter Master, a Lieutenant, and a Tech Marine, who was my Warlord with the +1 repair Warlord trait. So the logic behind the single Executioner is to pair it with the Ironstone to make it really, really annoying to kill. Now that the Ironstone, you have to pick what it's going to go on. Having more than 1 Executioner is redundant because whoever's going to shoot at you is just going to pick the one you don't put the Ironstone on. And the Leviathan Dreadnought... that thing is...
Did you make it a character?
Yes, I did make it a character every game. I picked a different warlord trait depending on what I was facing. So really the strong ones are either Student of History for consolidating 6 inches away from the enemies. You can't get locked in combat unless you're fully wrapped. And the 5 uphill no pain one to make it really annoying to kill.
Yeah, like really annoying.
The Leviathan going in, I wasn't so sure about. And in fact, I think it was the weak link of my list. It was really hard to kill, and whatever it got to shoot at, it destroyed. But the 24-inch range, even with a 9-inch move, means that a good player will just outrange it, or only give it targets you don't really care about. So whenever it did get to shoot, it did the business. But I'm looking to swap that out. It's just too limiting for the range.
You know what's so good? These crazy 2+ ballistic skill quad las cannon dreadnoughts. Oh.
Yeah, I'm thinking either the Contemptors with the quad las would be a good replacement. And in fact, if you think, I think the Mortis one, there's one version that has 9 wounds. So if you make it a character, it can't be targeted. So that would be the strong choice. So I'm going there, or maybe go for intercessor spam, because I found that those Stalker bolt rifles in a lot of games actually did a lot of work for me. The damage 2, AP -3, no penalty for moving and shooting with them. The 36-inch range plus your 6-inch move.
Yeah,
they're actually really good.
It's crazy. It's crazy. What troops out there have -3, 2 damage, 36-inch range, no penalty guns?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good, as long as you don't get any damage to weapons shooting.
Yeah, well, that's the issue. If you start getting shot by a bunch of autocannons, you're going to regret that life.
Yeah.
Although, with the Feel No Pain for Iron Hands, if you get those 2 damage coming in, a cheeky 6 will waste the next shot, right?
You can always make them only wound on 4-up. Like, there's lots of ways of keeping those guys alive, man.
Well, and you put them in cover. 2-up saves pretty decent on a cheap, battle line unit. I want to actually take a minute back. Is you were talking about the successor chapter versus the standard Iron Hands. Mm-hmm. So with the standard Iron Hands, you just get the reroll 1s to wound and the Feel No Pain 6-up.
So you get for standard Iron Hands, you get the 5-up Overwatch, the double wound track for vehicles, and the 6-up Feel No Pain. Mm-hmm. So those are the 3 things you get. Then the reroll 1s and no penalty for moving and shooting, that's for all the Iron Hands, including successors. So if you go successor, what people do is they take Martyr, Artisan, and Stealthy. So you always count as in cover outside of 12. So your intercessors can be in the open with a 2-up save, same for the vehicles. And then you can reroll 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, 1 damage roll. Which again, if you're running things like Flyers or Executioners, is a pretty powerful thing to have.
Exactly. So that's like the big debate is, do you... because really you don't lose much by going successor. Well,
you lose your double wound track, so if you got a flyer left on 2 wounds, it's still effective. You lose the 6-up Feel No Pain, which if you're rolling those 6s is really, really good. And you lose the 5-up Overwatch, which granted will only come into effect if you're getting charged by a melee army.
And you can't use Pharaohs.
Right, if you go successor you can't use Pharaohs, but I didn't run it. I don't think Pharaohs is, now that they've changed him, he's kind of this weird... bipolar character where the invuln affects infantry, but you really want him to repair vehicles, so it's kind of a weird one. He's still good, but I don't think he's an auto-include by any means.
Yeah, back when you could give the invul to everything.
Well, then he was automatic take.
Yeah, automatic, because then you're like, I got it. You're shooting me with minus las cannon or something. Oh, I'm just gonna make a 5-up.
Exactly.
And those add up a lot.
For sure.
That's pretty cool. So did you mention your 3 Thunderfire cannons as well?
Yes, I forgot the Thunderfire cannons.
How can you forget that's 3 Thunderfire cannons?
Well, those are amazing, yeah.
They were my MVP, I would say. The Flyers are super strong, but given that the Thunderfire cannons are 92 points, so for less than 300 points, you spend the CP to shoot 1 twice, all of a sudden, you're throwing 16 D3 shots, so 32 shots on average, strength 5, AP -2, no line of sight, 60-inch range.
Half move.
They hit on 2s, you're rolling 1s. It's like having a 60-inch no line of sight flamer.
Yep. And one of them can shoot twice and make 2 things move half move. They're actually only 47 points because they come with a free Tech Marine, which is 45 points. So 47 points for that gun is pretty good.
And you know what? In a couple of matches, those Tech Marines actually got to shoot at things that got deep into my lines, and they come with a flamer and a plasma gun.
Mm-hmm. How much is a mech gun, Chris? How much is a mech gun?
Well, we're not there yet. They're 31 points.
So even cheaper, but still.
Well, Thunderfire cannons shoot indirectly. They can hide.
Yes.
In ITC, that's a big deal because you're looking at Francois' army. You're going, okay, I have a repulsor that's -1 damage and is going to get repaired. That's really hard to kill. Or I can kill flyers. A lot of armies struggle with -1 to hit. And if of course they have flyer -2, so in that whole I'm sure a lot of people might not get kill more against you. It's kind of challenging actually, and the Thunderfire cannons allow you to go, that one turn where you did kill 2 of my things, I'm gonna indirectly kill all your little stuff, and I'm gonna get kill more, and it kind of lets you follow through with the ITC format, which is pretty neat. So I think even though they're a bit expensive.
I don't think they're expensive.
Three mech guns versus a Thunderfire cannon, depending on. The setup, I think the Thunderfire cannon might be a better deal.
And so good. In a lot of games, what you can do is, if you're starting to fall behind, get in trouble, like I did in my game 2 that we're going to talk about, you could just hide all of your army and just kill things indirectly. That's deny the kill, and then you get kill and kill more, and all of a sudden you swing it back 2 points.
So GW
Yeah.
is now out of Thunderfire cannons.
Not surprised.
And,
They've been actually quite good for a while. It's just that you didn't see them because Marines weren't good as a
they
whole.
weren't good, yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately that thing was a steal for its price. And there's also like it used to have. I'm not sure about the new book. I never double checked this, so Francois can fill me in. Like it has
buffed
a
it in
half
the book.
move stratagem, right? Still,
Yeah.
is that still there?
Mhm. Still,
And
oh
now
yeah,
it's
So
double
yeah, you
shooting.
can half movie unit. So you're playing that Chaos Marine army. You go first. You shoot the front unit of Plague Bearers, half move.
Mhm.
Now he can of course spread them out, move through them, but it's a hassle. It slows them
Well,
down.
you can slow down 2 units because you'd put the strat on
shoot.
one, you
on the
double
one you shoot
shoot it.
twice now. Yeah.
It's gross. It's gross.
Yeah.
So there was at SoCal, there was a custodies list that just cut enough custodians to run a lieutenant and 3 Thunderfire cannons.
Good idea. And like the Tech Marines, as you said, are no slouch in cover. Those guys don't die.
Well,
Like
they're
they're
Yeah,
hard to
hard
kill.
they're a 2-up save, so they're really hard to kill.
It's really cool.
And they're characters.
Mhm.
They're characters? Yeah, they're characters.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They're,
And I
they're full
kinda
techers.
like-
They can repair your stuff. If a plane gets hurt and you can pivot it the right way, you move it to your Thunderfire cannon, you repair it.
Yeah, and I kind of like the way that when you deploy them, the Tech Marine's separate unit, but he has to stay around the gun. Like I kind of like the mechanic that they did for that. So if your gun does happen to get shot or something, now you have a character that's essentially running around for free back there. So it's pretty cool
Yeah.
to stay on a backfield objective, or
Yeah.
because even if you're losing a game hard, you could have the Thunderfire cannon and the Tech Marine, and let's say somebody has something like a Night Titan. And you're losing big to a Night Titan. Now he needs 2 turns to kill your Tech Marine and your Thunderfire cannon. He can't just split fire. So it's really nice, yeah.
It's a super strong unit.
And so I guess we'll go on to the Orcs, because I actually made a change in my list, specifically for Iron Hands. I'm no slouch. I was following the meta, and I was seeing things like 6 planes and 3 repulsors and all these crazy like dreadnought lists. And I was sitting there like, the mech guns can deal with some armor. Shock attack guns can deal with others, but I needed something that could just really just drop 2 things in a turn. So I added in tank bustas to my list, just specifically for the meta. If you look around, there's a lot of, I was tooling a little bit for the players that were going. You got guys like Darren that could have went, who has Terminators on foot and 3 of those stupid Forge World tanks. You got guys like Zach running 6 Leaving Rust. I didn't know he was running them for this event, but I knew that there's a lot of tank heavy builds out there with Iron Hands and even other Orc matchups. You could split fire and drop a whole bunch of mech guns with them. So I decided to put those in. I took out 1 boy unit to replace them and dropped a shock attack gun just to pay for it, because they're a lot more expensive than a boys unit. I did not take the attack squigs. That was the bomb squigs. That was a conscious choice. I know it's controversial because you can do a lot of crazy tricks with the bomb squigs, but I just felt that most of the vehicles fly, so I wasn't really, they don't work on flying vehicles. So I was like, I don't want to spend 100 points on 10 bombs that really probably won't kill anything or be that effective. So my list overall was 1 shock attack gun, 2 weird boys, 2 war bosses. I had 100 boys even, so I had 2 units of 30 evil sons, and then I had 1 unit of 30 bad moons and a unit of 10 bad moons, so I could just combine the 30 and the 10, shoot twice, clear chaff, blah blah blah. It's a standard trick I think we've talked about. I took 14 mech guns because that's all I own. Smash guns, of course, because there's 31 points, which is a bargain.
You could take 10 Thunderfire cannons.
Well, you can't compare that though, right? Because they're different. I think smash guns, I'll fully admit that they are underpointed, I believe. But then again, they're not like a Thunderfire cannon hits on 2s. I don't know. I almost, if I could trade 3 smash guns for a Thunderfire cannon, I think I might actually. Just for the survivability, for the fact that it fires indirectly. That firing indirect, the fact that my smash guns don't fire indirectly is a huge saving grace for a lot of armies.
Yeah. Oh, if they were indirect fire, it would be stupid.
Oh, well, that would be. But then again, if they were indirect fire, they'd probably be twice as many points.
No, they wouldn't be any more than a Thunderfire cannon.
I don't know, because they'd be 60, right? So you'd have, 1.5 of them for Thunderfire. But anyway, that's just all. So I took 14 of those. I took the unit tank busters, as I said. So it was a pretty standard list for Orcs, I guess, and it seemed to do quite well. So I'll hand off to you, Francois, for your game 1.
Yeah, sure.
Wait, before
My
you go on, Francois, I just want to say
yep.
a shout out to the people watching on stream. We've got Nick Blackburn. Did he go to P&P?
Yes,
Yep.
you did.
Oh, he was. All right, all right. We've got Kevin Armitage, Robert Monsell. Welcome, guys. Hobby Hammer, Bruce Gordon watching from New Zealand, Tom, the Rograx Leighton from England, Recon, who says you sound like a robot. Maybe he just listens like a robot.
But
And
I don't think you do.
no,
His internet
sounds
sucks.
okay. It's just Toronto internet. And Fire Greek 22. Welcome, guys. Thank you for watching. All right.
Yeah. Game 1 for you, Francois.
Yeah, well, first, I think I'd really want to say how great the whole day was in general. I think the organization was really tight. The tables were good. If anything, some of them were maybe too busy, if there's such a thing for a warm-up table.
That was so good. No. I wouldn't say that. This was ETC heavy level terrain.
Yeah, it was
like
good.
tables. Like you could hide most of your army if you were careful.
It really
and
allowed
your flyers could probably get cover turn 1 for most part.
Mm-hmm. And they did a lot of the time, yeah. So really swell day overall. My game 1, though, was against a great guy, Jeremy, who ran actually a very similar list to what I ran competitively for a year, what I took to CCBV this summer. It's a Crest Knights list with Guard Battalion, AdMech Battalion, Stygies. He was only running 2 Crusaders and a Gallant because he brought in 2 of those... the new AdMech tanks with the indirect mortar, whose name now escapes me. Thank you. The Scorpius Disintegrators, which are fantastic tanks. If I was still running that Crass Knights list, I would also make that change and bring in those tanks. So we were playing long deployment. He was going first, I think. We had a really tight battle. He played it really well, really pushed his list to the limit. I think it was a really great game on both sides. I eventually hedged him out by, I want to say 4 or 5 points, but it was actually pretty close. Great game. We went the whole 6 turns. He still had a knight at the end that I never managed to kill. I just managed to get enough of those cheeky kill more, hold more to get the win in the end. But it was a really fantastic game.
Good stuff. Yeah, I too had a very tight game round 1. I played Peter, which is the same guy I actually played at the last P&P with his
Necron
Necrons, which is funny too because we were talking about Necrons come up a lot in conversation lately because there's been a few of those builds that have been spoiling people essentially because they got some really neat tricks and I think people are unprepared for them. So I'm really happy to have played them again because every time I play them, I learn more and more Necron tricks. And last time I got to go first, and I took away a bunch of his tricks, and this time he went first, Peter. So he, did the full extent of his tricks on me, which was interesting. So he has 3 flyers, pops up, bomb goes off, goes really well. It does wounds to almost everything it touches.
Like how many more?
Drops it. It dropped 2 characters and a couple mech guns.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Because the way that we were deploying in a corner, so it was really hard to. I tried to spread out as much as I could, but my army essentially fills the deployment zone.
Yeah.
And I was taking a gamble with some of my characters to get them in a good position. That, I was like, well, he might kill 1. But because you have to roll was it 5 or 6 to hit a character? So you're like, I'll risk it, and of course he got it on both characters and a whole bunch of mech guns, but that's okay. So starts off, I was like, okay, that's not bad. I lost a ton of stuff. His Tomb Blades, which he changed out the wraiths for, so he had Tomb Blades and Destroyers. They kind of were too far back. He was kind of hiding behind a building. So turn 1, I didn't lose too much. I retaliated my turn 1. I spent all of my movement, all of my basically my remaining psychic powers to jump out, and I was able to fill in the board because Peter kind of YOLO'd to do this to my army.
Yeah.
And I was able to fill in the rest of the board so that all 3 planes flew off the edge of the table. Yeah. So that was quite a bit. It was also nerve-wracking when you need to roll. I needed to roll like a 7 with +3 to jump a unit to pull it off, or else they'd all live. And I rolled a 4, so that gives me just a 7. So it was like, oh, but it when you see that low number, you kind of because I needed that. So I took them down, and then his next turn, the Tomb Blades came up, and they just nuked 40 boys, no problem. he just killed so many of my mech guns that next turn. I think I was down like 8 or 9 of them by turn 2.
With what? With the Doomsday Arcs and Destroyers?
Yeah, the Doomsday Arcs, they drop basically 1 to 2 a turn, right?
Yeah.
So I lost like 3 or 4 round 1, 3 or 4 round 2. So I was lost a lot. And the mech guns, they seem really busted when there's 14 because it's the overwhelming rolls, right? Like you might go 3 guns, do nothing, and then 1 gun just gets hot and blows something up. But when you're down to like 4 of them, they're not killing a Necron tank, to be honest. And like I was rolling really well. So this whole tournament, I felt like I was rolling really hot everything I did. But so I'd get 3 wounds through, and I'd roll a 5-5-6, and then of course he's going to roll under those super easy.
Quantum shielding is annoying.
Quantum shielding is so annoying. So anyway, this game progressing. I'm still just getting objectives, but I lost all my boys, all my mech guns, but like 3. And, Shock Attack just maybe wasn't going off yet. So we get to the last turn of the game, turn 6 or whatever, turn 5. I don't know if we hit time or not. I can't remember. And so it gets called like, this is last turn. And I'm like, okay, we're tied going into it. So I'm guaranteed the tie if I score an objective. And then I need to basically, I got hold more, which guarantees me the tie. And I was guaranteed to get that. And then I was like, okay, I need to get 1 more point to win the game. So I kind of sat there for a few minutes, thought it through, because I think we had like 15 minutes left. And I had to run a big mech, and I had to roll over a 2 to get my last recon, because I'd only managed to get 3 recons because they killed so much of my stuff. I needed to either kill a unit. So I had my whole army to shoot one of his tanks that was wounded. And then I had a war boss that could charge one of his characters if they failed to do it in the shooting phase. So first thing I do is I say, okay, well, I'll take the free recon, guarantee the win. So I roll a 2 for his run, doesn't make it. Rerolls 2, doesn't make it. I think Nick Blackburn saw that and he walked away at that point. And I went, woo! Then I kind of debated, and I shot everything into his one of his Doomsday Arcs with 9 wounds left. And the Shock Attack gun went like full insanity and just blew it up, which was really nice. So I ended up winning by 1 point.
Yeah. Nope. That Necron list is so deceptive. It shoots so much. And
it was a high scoring game because I got score more, I think, every round. And I think I got 1 or 2 of the bonus points. But I didn't get my secondaries as well because I picked Marked for Death and Vehicle Hunter, and I couldn't kill the Doomsday Arc, so that cost me 3 secondaries, or 2. I think 2 or whatever it was. But anyway, I couldn't kill them till the very, very end of the game, so that kind of helped me on the back foot. And with him dropping 4 mech guns or 3 mech guns a turn and maybe a boy unit, I never got kill more. And sometimes on Necrons, you just don't kill anything.
Yeah,
it's just the way it is.
Regen.
Yeah, so it kept it we were both scoring a lot, but it kept it really, really tight. So it was a really fun game, but it was I would say the most scared of the whole weekend was that game because I almost lost it. Yeah.
Yeah, I played this last week, and I killed all his destroyers and his tomb blades by turn 2. But then his vehicles just tabled me.
But you don't care about the tomb blades as much as I do. Those tomb blades, they shoot your terminators. They're not you're going to get 2 up saves, right? They go into a boy unit, and if he rolls the one time he rolled 8 6s, he killed a gazillion of them, and he's popping strats. And oh my god, it was crazy. I think he dropped.
Didn't he also reanimate a bunch of tomb blades at one point?
Oh my god, because I screwed up. Yeah, I couldn't get. Yeah, because with the mech guns, they take up such a big profile it's really hard with sometimes a building to get them all to see one thing, right? So you have to kind of split their fire. So anyway, that was round 1. So we'll go on to your round 2, Francois.
Yeah, so my round 2 was against Jean Masson, who is a friend of mine. We're on the same team for CanHammer team tournaments, so I know him very well, and I know his list very well, and he knows my list very well. So, I kind of like that, actually, because you go into the game knowing what to expect. You know the other guy, you know you're going to have a good time. It's not going to be a stressful game. You're gonna both play your best, but it's going to be a good, fun, clean game. You're going to be joking around the whole time. So that was a nice kind of breather after the really intense. I mean, it was a fun game 1, but it was it pushed me a lot. So I'm going into Jean. I'm okay, I know Jean's list. I'm reasonably confident. I got this. We're gonna have a fun game. So we get to the table, And that was the one table that I think had a slightly less dense terrain. So I look at it and I go, he has a Castellan in his list. Will I be able to hide my Executioner if I go second? I'm like kind of scratching my head. Because his list was Castellan, Guard Brigade. Basically, he's playing. The Castellan is still so strong. Sure, it's not as prevalent or powerful as it used to be, but it's still a really good unit. And he was playing it Raven for the House Companion strat, the rerolling all the ones. So you know that thing will drop things dead, even against Iron Hands.
It's just as powerful as it used to be. It's just
it's just a bit more expensive. Yeah,
and that too, and a bit more expensive.
Yeah, and so I knew he could drop my vehicles, even with Iron Hands, even with Iron Stone. If he gets to see the Executioner, the Executioner's dead. And then we roll off for deployment, and who goes first, and he gets the first turn. But there was one piece of terrain that I could hide my Executioner behind, and most of my army. So I clumped my entire army in maybe like an 8-inch diameter behind a piece of terrain. Everything was out of line of sight except the planes, which were at the very back. So turn one, he gets to go first, but the only thing he has in range is the Volcano Lance. All of his other guns are out of range. So obviously the Volcano Lance does what it does and downs a plane. But I'm going into my bottom of turn one with my entire army minus a plane. So I'm feeling pretty good at that point. And then I pop the Executioner out. I spread out the planes all over the map. Start thinking about getting my points. I shoot so many guardsmen off the board because those Gatling cannons on the planes are just unfair when they're hitting on 2s or 3s, depending on which plane it is, and rerolling 1s. I kill so much stuff turn one. but I whiff a bit on shooting the Castellan with my Executioner. I take some wounds off the Castellan, but it's clear to me already turn one that I'm not going to kill it. It's going to live through the game. And it did. It never died. It ended the game with 4 wounds left, but I couldn't kill it. Just because turn 2, what happens is he blows up my Executioner. And 1 or maybe even 2 planes. And at that point, the mistake that I made was actually I killed too many guard squads turn 1.
Yeah.
So I was having trouble getting my kill and kill more.
Yeah, you
so it actually,
that, man.
it suddenly, I got excited and I was shooting guard squads all over. And then, there was a few left here and there, but he was failing the morales, and so they just all went away. The Leviathan powered up in that game. It was actually pretty clutch. And then I was able, with my Thunderfire cannons, to pick up a mortar squad here or a character that ended up being closer there and just, stay in the game that way. But it ended up being much closer than I thought it was going to be, and that Jean thought it was going to be going in. He thought it was going to be a lot more difficult for him.
The temptation is just to shoot all those guardsmen off first turn, but you don't need to. They're not going to do anything to you, and you got to save them, right?
So I should have maybe shot my 2 squads to get my kill more, and just kept the rest as fodder for later in the game.
Especially if you have bottom of the turn, you know how many units you need to kill.
Exactly.
Well, so get rid of his mortars turn 1, because they're the nasty thing. But ultimately, if I was in your position, I would have just put. This is the big debate. Put everything into that knight.
Yeah.
Turn 1. Just say, screw it. I'm just going to kill your knight, and once he's gone, it doesn't matter.
You're right, and
thinking about it, the assault cannons, right? Even
the assault cannons are winning on 5s, and they're minus 2 AP, right, with Iron Hands. So I probably should have done that, and if I had, the Castellan likely dice turn 1. The issue is if your dice doesn't run cold or his run hot, and he makes all his saves, and you fail to kill it after putting everything into it, then you're in a bit of a pickle there. But either way,
guardsman the next turn. So
you're kind of not still.
Yeah, I managed to still pull out the win, and it was close, 2-point difference. And there's definitely things I could have done better there, and it's a lesson I'm gonna remember as far as managing your targets for the future. Don't live in the turn you're in. Think about the turn 2 and turn 3 and what you're gonna do then.
Especially if you have bottom of round, you can really then I love going second with my custodians because then I know which objective I need to stand on and which I don't, right?
Especially since I'd only lost 1 plane, which is 160 points. It's not a big deal. So replaying that match, I would do it differently. But still, because Iron Hands are a very strong army and it's a strong list, even making that mistake, I still managed to pull out the win.
Yeah, I think that speaks a lot to ITC made a change to how the go first mechanic essentially. So if you in this mission it was deploy your whole army first because this was mission 4.
Yeah.
So you got to deploy your whole army first, but then you had to go first. Whereas in the rulebook and some other formats, you can deploy your army and then choose to go first or second. And so I think like in that scenario, right, like when you hit all your models completely, it would have been like maybe Jean. Like I know he couldn't at this event, but it would have been nice if he could have said, "No, you go first because you hit everything," right?
Yeah.
Which would have been
Because
interesting.
he had no good targets. He only one of his guns was in range, the volcano lance. That was it. Nothing else in his entire army could shoot. I mean, okay, a couple scouts, a couple sentinels, but nothing that mattered, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's where maybe I don't really like that change in the ITC for that reason, right? It allows somebody to, if they get the right terrain, to just kind of dick you. Because, yeah, you lost one plane, but he lost an entire shooting phase, which is arguably worth more than one plane.
Oh, for sure. I would make that trade every day.
Like how much was the plane? It's like, what, 170?
If it's an interceptor, which I think it was, it's 159.
Yeah, so if I could pay 159 points to just say you don't shoot for a turn, I would do it.
Of course.
Here's some
All day,
boys.
every day. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah. Well, exactly. Well, it's more than two, but yeah. My round two went to I was playing Brother Ben, who frequents some of the Gatineau stores. He was playing Knights, which was kind of interesting. He had Guard, AdMech, and Knights, so he had something like 19 CP, which is pretty crazy.
Triple Crest Crusader, right?
Yeah, Triple Crest Crusaders. He had basically, 30 guardsmen with two company commanders, and then AdMech, he just had 3 units and a couple of the what are they called? The Engineers or whatever.
Engineers.
Yeah, so pretty standard list. I generally worry about Knights because they have the shooting to basically take off 6 mech guns a turn on average, which is pretty rough. If he goes first, he can kill 6, then kill 6, and then I'm out of that. Sometimes you can kill a Knight, sometimes you can't, right? So I was a little bit nervous going into that because Knights in the past have tabled me. So he starts off, he goes first, drops a bunch of mech guns, also shoots off some boys, which is like, okay, not a lot of boys. Then my turn 1, I put everything into one Knight. Basically, what I did is one of his Knights had a 4-up invul. One of them did not. 2 of them do not. So I targeted one with 1 mech gun. He rotated ion shields, and then I put my entire army into the other one with a 5-up invul save just to get the shots through. So I said, I kind of didn't go for the Warlord one or anything. I just went, I'm going to go straight into that one. I took basically Titan Slayer and I had to kill his Warlord, get wounds off his Warlord. So it was basically to get 8 of my secondaries, I just had to kill 2. Well, basically his Warlord I had to cripple, and I had to kill one other Knight and a part of another one. So because it doesn't stack the Warlord ones, but turn 1 basically got the 1 Knight. It almost got me 4 secondaries. Took away a lot of his firepower. Turn 2, same thing, but I had lost by this point 7 or so mech guns. I got him down to 3 wounds on a Knight, which of course he then made act normal, which is brutal. And then I bring in my tank bustas towards his other Knight that was left on basically full wounds. They get it down to 3 wounds, and then I shoot everything else into his other Knight with 3 wounds left, and do a charge with 2 knobs and a 40-man boy unit. Didn't kill it, so then the next turn he had 2 Knights on 3 wounds, which is terrifying. And then he got me down to 2 mech guns, but I ended up just, score more, kill. And I just kept doing that, playing secondaries, and then eventually I finally got his Knights gone and took the win.
Yeah, that list of his is the same list I ran in CCBB.
It's a good list.
Yeah, and it's easy to play, which I liked about it.
I didn't like his list because I thought that the 2 battalions is just it's more CP than you need for that army. I thought maybe just taking the Guard or just taking the AdMech and taking more might have helped him. Some indirect fire, even 9 mortars, something to be okay, your grots are dead. Yeah. He could kill my grots.
Or what Jeremy did, the guy who played game 1, played those AdMech tanks, add them in, downgrade a Knight and bring those in. That's how.
Well, just get rid of the Guard. Yeah. Get rid of the Guard and bring them in, maybe, right, or something. But you
play AdMech, yeah.
You just need something else, right? I've seen tank commanders. There's so many options. I think that if you're just taking 3 Knights and then the bare minimum to get them 10 extra CP, I just didn't think it was worth it. I don't think
you're spending 6 pre-game on your extra relics, extra warlord traits, right? So it's actually semi-CP intensive pre-game.
But it sounds my opinion on that is it's greedy. So when you're not in a bad way, but like you're like, what's more effective, spending these extra CP or just having more stuff doing damage and holding objectives, right?
Yeah, definitely. What I liked about it is it let you tailor your list in between games because you could swap those command traits and those extra artifacts depending on what you end up facing.
But you can still do it. You can still do it. You just lose a couple rerolls here and there, which, like, let's face it, it's not really.
Sure.
I don't know. Is it really like? Do you really need those extra 5 rerolls here and there?
And I think you're right. If I was playing that still, I would get rid of the guard, just play AdMech, bring in like 3 of those Indirect Fire AdMech tanks, the Scorpius, and just play that. I think that'd be stronger.
Yeah, because they'll survive longer than the mortars will, and then you're kind of given a more uniformed front or vehicle front.
Yeah, because you make them Stygies, they're -1 to hit. They have a 3 up save, 2 up if you can put them in cover, which you will because they have Indirect Fire anyway.
And you just repair them.
Yep.
And they have transport capacity, so you can. In ITC, right? You can put your AdMech stuff in it.
I'm not sure. I know there's a transport version, but
they don't.
It's the other.
No, they don't. They don't. Yeah. No, you're right.
But still, AdMech is also can be annoying to kill if you put them in cover. They have a great save.
Yeah. So it's food for thought, but and also maybe you could take some of those AdMech sniper things or whatever. But I don't want to.
And I may play that at CanHammer Team Tournament depending on who plays the Space Marines on my team. We haven't decided which member of the team is going to play the Space Marines. If I don't. Then I'll play that.
Well, and there's the other thing too is Astra Militarum is so effective on their own. So if you have a teammate that has a big guard army, I could definitely see just taking the AdMech with the Knights now that they have that new vehicle that gives them a little bit of a boost. So,
or if I need to, I can lend out that army to someone and then play my guard.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, just fly your Iron Hand fire straight at them. You'll kill everything. You should get 20 points every round. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
So then we'll go on to your round 3.
Yeah, round 3 was the matchup that I feared going in, the Iron Hand Mirror.
That's Cody, right?
Cody, yeah.
He's the applicant. Yeah.
And I think Cody's list was stronger than mine because Cody was going all out on flyers, 6 flyers. He was taking that stealthy Master Artisan successor trait. So looking at his list and looking at my list, I was like, uh-oh, I may be up against it here. He did have those suppressors that I think are actually the weak point of his list, and afterwards he said he wasn't going to run them anymore. So maybe though there was a bit of a chink in the armor, but he was running like the full Air Force 6 flyer Iron Hand successor list, which is so strong.
Do you guys remember in 7th when they came out with those stupid flyer squadron rules where they had to fly in a formation and then get bonuses? This game kind of would remind me of that with like whatever 8 jets.
Because he had 6, I had 4, so there was 10 flyers on the table.
You guys deserve
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. And so we go into the game, and I'm like, I've gone second twice so far. I'm due. I'm going to go first. I win the roll off to go first, and then he seized on me.
Yeah.
Now, I had deployed conservatively still, so he had some tough choices to make. And he could... Okay, so his Executioner was going to kill something because he had line of sight, and the gun is infinite range. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to lose something to the Executioner. The big question is, what does he do with his planes? And he basically had 2 choices. He could be conservative and keep his planes just going back sideways on his edge of the board to keep them far away from my Leviathan Dreadnought, which, granted, if it gets to shoot, will shoot down 2 planes, 1 with each arm, right? On average. So, or you could fly them up and bring the assault cannons into range. He chose to be conservative, kept his planes back, which I think is a mistake. I think he should have gone for the jugular. Because turn 1, he killed my Executioner, but that's all he killed. So he only got 1 kill. Sure, it's a big piece of my army, 300 points, but that's the only thing that he did kill, which allowed me to claw my way back over the next 6 turns because I ignored his Executioner entirely. I never touched it. I was like, I'm not going to kill that thing efficiently. I can spend an entire round of shooting trying to kill it, maybe succeed, maybe not, or I can shoot down 2.5 planes. So I shot down 2.5 planes. And so top of turn 2, now he's got 4 planes, I've got 4 planes. He's got an Executioner, but I still have my Leviathan. His suppressors come down, but those were basically free kills for me because they're not resilient. I just, you shoot some Thunderfire cannons at them and they disappear. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of turns where I managed to hide my army as best I could and get kill more. A couple of turns, he couldn't kill anything because I just prioritized the planes, and once I shot down the planes, I just spent 2 turns hiding from the executioner. I ran my Leviathan away the other way.
I actually saw that, yeah.
I had to advance it, and I had to get like I think a 4 or a 5 on the advance roll to get it behind the piece of terrain to hide it because he would have killed it. And I rolled like a 6 for the advance. I think it wasn't even close, so I managed to like hide a Leviathan. Last turn, he couldn't see anything. Oh, actually, I thought he couldn't see anything. I messed up. I had a gun poking out of a corner, which, you know, reminds you got to be really precise on how you place your models. So he did manage to get line of sight to like the tip of a gun on one intercessor and kill one squad. But I had picked Hold School as my secondary, which is usually a trap, but I wasn't confident I was going to get anything else against him, given his list and given that I didn't think I was going to get Recon unless I was already winning. So I took Old School. So last round, I killed something. I needed the 2 up to advance into a zone, which I got. Barely, I got a 2. And so I got my line breaker, my kill in the last round, and I ended up winning that one by, I want to say 4 or 5 points. But, you know, it was an exhausting game of Warhammer because I had to play the most cerebral that I've played in a long time every turn, starting turn 1, because I was so up against it that if I had any chance of clawing back, I had to be really careful about where my units are going to go, where is line of sight to what, how do I prioritize my targets. And so I was super happy to win that game. He's a great guy, fantastic opponent. We were reminding ourselves of, you know, little rules here and there the whole time, so it was a great time. But I was fried, exhausted after that game. 3 games in a day is about as much as I can stand normally. But that game was so intense. Now going into game 4, I was
he's said he's overgoing doing a bit. No, I'd agree. I talked to Cody after that game as well. Like we all kind of, you know, because we sat there chit chat a lot, and I'd agree. He didn't like when you're going first, you need to kill as much things in your opponent's army that does damage back to you,
especially in that mirror.
Yeah. And with 6 planes, I believe if he would have went straight up, ignored the repulsor, and just shot everything into your planes,
he would have killed at least 3.
At least 3, and then he's up, right? Because let's face it, even if he kills 3 in his return turn,
then even if I kill 3, then he kills the last one and the executioner the next turn, and basically they have nothing else.
Yeah, and then it's kind of just like exponentially decreases the damage. But yeah, I think he knew that, and it's you know, it's a common trap. That's the hardest thing in 40K. When do I go and when do I not? Right, that's like the hardest thing.
We've all made that mistake many times.
Yeah. Well, you have to make it many times to know when to
learn.
Do it. Yeah. So my round 3 was pretty cool. I was playing against Dark Eldar, which I'm not gonna lie, I find them nervous. I always find Dark Eldar scary just because, even though I generally do okay against them, just Vect. Sometimes, you know, you have a bad phase, and then he Vex you a few times, and you just can't get your mojo, like you can't get your damage going. Because for me, I rely on a lot of times hitting on 5s all the time, or I rely on shooting twice. So I always I'm reluctant. Also, if you just can't, sometimes you just can't kill the Talos, and they go in, they just murder your orcs, and then you try to kill them again, they go in and they murder your orcs, and it just is what it is. So he ended up going super aggressive against me. His turn 1, he committed, killed, I think it was like 1 mech gun and like 20 boys. But he committed so hard to my army that I was able to drop, I believe it was 2 Ravagers, a Venom with a unit inside of it, cripple another Venom. The reason I went after his Ravagers is once they're gone, he has no shooting, so then I can be a bit more tricksy, and I can kind of just roadblock him and just chill. Turn 2, I just wiped out the Talos and essentially most of the rest of the army, so it went really well. Sorry, and I got two of his planes turn 1. He had 2 planes. I got them both turn 1, so it was a very lucky 2 turns. But all in all, I think Dark Eldar planes, when you're shock attacking, shooting twice, and hitting on 5s, you're gonna kill them.
Yep.
So, yeah, it went really well to me. Big win. It was like everything I rolled went off. Period. Killed. I remember I got 2 rolls through on a Ravager, and I rolled boxcars. Boom, gone.
That'll do it.
Yeah, it was just sometimes just when stuff goes well with your orcs, you just kill everything. I I put my orc boys in kind of like a U shape with all my characters, so that when he would bring his stuff up and his chaos, he would hit my boys. He'd kill them, but it would also I'd kill the ones that were in combat. Then I'd have some left, and I was able to bring them back and stuff. So I did a lot of weird tricks and things like that, which was really cool to pull off. So big win. Then we go into the final round,
where I'm playing the man, the myth, the legend himself. You.
Yeah,
softened up for the kill.
I gotta say, going into that game, I was feeling good. I'm on 3 wins. I'm like, hey, I might actually win this thing. How great would that be? And I've played orcs before, and I'm like, I can remove 60 orcs a turn, no problem. I got this, right? I never played against 14 mech guns before.
And actually, they didn't do much against you.
No, actually, it was the shock attack gun that really took me by surprise. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Well, I think the tank busters, to me, were the big thing for me.
Okay, sure. That turn where the tank busters came in was big. But I made so many mistakes that game. I think, thinking back on it, I was up against it, given that your list is really, really good at killing mine. But I was tired, and I made silly mistakes.
Excuses.
There was no reason for my rightmost under fire cannon to be that close, let you rapid.
Yeah, so we should probably talk about that. That was to me, that was the biggest mistake you made the whole game.
Yeah.
So
we started the game, and I was so tired, I forgot the jump existed. Like, I play against orcs all the time. My good friend Charlie's on my team for CanHammer, a team tournament. He plays orcs. We practice all the time. I'm very familiar with the jump. But my brain just went, the jump? What is this? How can you come in turn 1? What is this trickery?
Yeah, because I was prepared if I needed to charge your line, fight twice, even if all I needed to do was wrap something. Uh-huh. I was willing to waste that many CP.
I just gave it to you for free.
Yeah, but you gave it to me for free, exactly. Yep. So I went in, I hit a unit. His Thunderfire cannon was right behind it with the Tech Marine. I wrapped the Tech Marine, and then of course I only had like 4 orcs on it, and you're like 4 orcs are not going to kill a 4-wound Tech Marine this time. 5 with
that
the
fight lasted 3.5 turns.
Maybe even longer. Yeah,
maybe 4. Yeah,
but that's all I needed because it allowed me to essentially wrap your left flank. Yep. Run my boys across the middle of the table on an objective, which then allowed me to move my other boy unit kind of up the middle, and it allowed me to put characters really far up on my left flank.
And you got a bonus.
They were never able to shoot me, because then I was actually able to get some good smites off near the end there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's turn 1. It's already going sideways for me turn 1, and then because I went second, and then turn 2. Your round of shooting was insane.
Yeah, so we should talk about turn 1 a little bit. So you deployed quite well. You hid,
except for that one thunder fire.
Except for the part that
except for that, everything else was hidden.
Yeah.
Screened properly, very far back, either out of line of sight. If I didn't move my mech guns, I could only shoot, I believe, 6 of them, 3 from each flank.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was it was like a very good position to be in. And then of course I shot my shock attack gun, and I got a plane down to 4 wounds left. Well, it would be nice to kill him with the first, because then you're like, well, when I shoot twice with it, do I shoot the same plane and take it off, or do I shoot another plane? That's a big debate, right? So I ended up shooting the same plane and only getting 1 plane turn 1.
But that was the right call, because if you whiff again and you leave 2 planes on 4 wounds, then you're in trouble, right?
100%. But so I got the 1 plane, and I actually moved all my mech guns, which I think was crucial.
It set you up for turn 2 also.
Exactly. Well, I still had to move some of them on turn 2 even, but because they moved so little. But it was definitely cool. And then turn 2.
Okay, so turn 2. Turn 2. Well, bottom of turn 1, I move my planes. I delete a unit of boys. I get kill more. I'm pretty sure. I kill a couple of mech guns. I get my butcher. It's not yet going too badly for me. I'm off on the back foot, right? But I don't
even think you were on the back foot.
Come back into it. Well, it's locking my entire right flank. So you're awkward. But my turn 1 goes as I thought it would. Like, I get my average dice. My Leviathan's out of range, but that's fine. I expected that. I move him up a little bit. Set him up for the next round, move my planes, kill what I need to kill, get my points. I think I'm ahead in points by a bit at that point. I'm feeling, okay, I made this mistake, but I can come back. And then the shock attack gun
Shock
powers
attack.
up, and
But it wasn't just
seven
that. It wasn't just...
D3. Well, no, but that's the one that really like hurt my soul when the shock attack gun did like 35 wounds to my repulsor.
Yeah, it went full tilt.
Like it's just 14 mortal wounds from one shock
That
attack
happens,
gun.
what, once a tournament, Chris?
Well, no. It happens a couple. It should happen if you're shooting it twice throughout a whole tournament. It's only like to power off is only like, what is it, like a 1 in 30 something? Like to get as much wounds as I did, but because it's like you have to roll an 11 or 12. Yeah, it's like a...
Yeah, but then you also got like 11 on the strength and 11 shots, and you hit
It's
7
something
times.
crazy. But so that's the funny thing. From my perspective, that was amazing and pure butter, but I wasn't even worried about your repulsor.
Oh yeah, the tank busters is what really broke my back, but my soul hurt when the shock attack gun did this to my executioner.
Exactly, but the executioner for me was the last thing that I even wanted to shoot at that period, because I had Raptor Tech Marine, so its little guns aren't shooting anything but mech guns, and it can only kill one mech gun in a turn, essentially, maybe 2 at range. Let's say 2. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so your repulsor kills 2 mech guns. What I really wanted to do was, once I got rid of your planes, then I could start moving my characters more aggressively. I could start, opening up holes in my backfield. I didn't need to worry about it anymore, because then you're contained to a back corner. So I was like, turn 1, I got 1 plane. Turn 2, I was like, I would like to get 2 planes. Tank Busters Deep Struck came in. Mordaka shoot twice. They dropped 2 planes, but I think that's like statistically very...
Yeah, that's about what you'd expect. Yeah. And you also killed the 3rd plane with your
mech guns.
Your mech guns. So I was out of planes. They got to shoot once. They were all shot down, all dead. I spent the rest of the game hiding to deny you kills and clawing kill more with my 2 Thunderfire cannons that were not wrapped. But that's all I could do at that point. I was out of alpha units. I had a Leviathan. That's what I had. So I mean, you played that perfectly. I made tiny mistake. The dice were hot, and that was that. But it was a fun game. I think we had a really fun match, and we joked around, and we were laughing about the dice, and so it was a really good time.
I had a good day for dice. Yeah. I felt really lucky that day.
It's just a dice
game. Stuff but it was like it's very rare that like every game you're like, whew, I blew that one big thing. Like it was a good day.
So that's a repeat champion then, Chris.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Who's getting the glove engraved, by the way? Who has it
I think
right
it's
now?
Dan. Dan's supposed to. Well, I'm supposed to have it, but I don't have it.
Oh, is Dan doing it?
I don't know. I don't really
presumably
like that. But yeah, no, I think I'm at like 5 or 6 P&P wins now. So
you and Will Paul, I think, and Zach have won almost all the P&Ps.
But it was I was very confident playing. I like playing elite armies just because of the fact that I ignore your negative hit modifiers.
Yeah.
I have the range. I have some, even if you went first, I feel like you would have killed more of my stuff, but then I would have also got to shoot more at you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then everything would have been closer. So really, probably your turn 2 would have been just as devastating, even with less stuff shooting.
Yeah, because maybe I get 2 planes turn 1, but you kill more stuff. But still, if I get 2 planes, then the tank busters come in and clean it up. The 6 planes might give me a lot more grief, but even then, I'm not too sure. I think orcs might be a really good counter to the Iron Hands.
I think so, actually. Well, your version of it with the tank busters were really clutch, and the mech guns also. It was eye opening.
Those tank busters are amazing.
Yeah,
because they roll all their hits against vehicles. That's a big. When you're like more DACing them, and you're like I think against your
more hits. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, your one flyer, I believe I got 14 hits on 15 dice.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I remember.
Yeah. I think it was crazy. And then the next one, I got like way less hits, but I still blew it up.
I mean, were they those cheater Team Canada ETC dice?
Yeah. Those dice can be so bad sometimes, and then so good other times.
I've never seen it.
You've seen it. You've never played them.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen them.
It's always Maple Leafs all the time. Maple Leafs all the time.
Well, how can you get mad at that?
That's true. That's what I mean. Like, you have to be like, oh yeah, Maple Leafs.
They've been checked. Right? Because people have said that they've been checked, and no, they roll a lot of 2s and 3s.
Did you have someone put one in a glass of water to see which way it floated?
Yeah. Well, They're fine. They're Chessex, man.
Yeah.
I think it's just because the logo is so big and white that it sticks out.
Well,
Like
you
that's
see the sixes more because they're so obvious on the face of the dice. So maybe people look at them and think there's more sixes than there actually are.
and because when I'm shooting a plane, sometimes I only like when I was moving all my mech guns that turn, I'm only hitting on sixes. So I was rolling like 6 mech guns together, and I'd get like 4 hits, and you'd be like, okay, 4 additional dice. So you're looking at it like that's a lot of sixes, but it's like yeah, because I'm removing everything but the sixes. So there's that aspect to it as well.
Yeah, honestly, I think other than the mech gun powering up, which will happen eventually statistically, your dice were not crazy out of what statistically you'd expect. Like tank busters will kill 2 planes unless you roll really poorly.
Or pretty close.
I don't need to make a dice meme for Chris.
So the thing is the mech guns allow where if the tank busters are slightly less like under odds and they cripple 2 of your planes, the mech guns will allow me to kind of finish them off.
Yeah, you can sweep it up. Yep.
But if they happen to go through both of them, then I could take all the mech guns and put them on another plane.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe like it was like it takes like 14 mech guns to shoot down one of your planes.
Yeah, no, there was a bunch of times you were shooting in mech guns and like nothing, right?
But then you'll get the one. Yeah, it's funny because I always do that. You'll get like 3. Like I did that against Ben. I got like 3 mech guns, did nothing, and then one of them 3 shots, 4 hits, 3 go through, bang, and you're like it makes. And then he's like, whoa, that's crazy. It's like yeah, but it makes up for the 5 that just shit the bed, right?
And those are the moments you remember. So.
Yeah, you always remember the negative that happens to you over the positive, like over the. You don't remember the 6 that missed, right? But. Oh yeah, it's so fun playing orcs because when you're like the variance on all the rolling is so huge that it can go like really terrible or really good.
But since you're throwing a bucket of dice anyway, it's going to even out.
Yeah. Well, and then you combine that with a reroll, like you get that strength 11. I'm rerolling anything under a 3 for shots, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool. Yeah, no, it was a great event. It's nice to win a second one. The only game that, like the Necron game, man, that almost ended at round 1, which is pretty wild. But the rest went pretty. I'm getting really comfortable with the list. Like it's very rarely that I get surprised, and that's I think is a good thing moving forward because when you get surprised, that's when you lose. And so I just kind of I started just with ITC just calming down, playing slower. Who cares? Okay, the guy let him have his kill more. I don't care. I'm just going to score more, kind of working my way on. And,
this is something I'm trying to work on, like slow down my game, because I find I'm still overreacting to things or overcommitting when I don't need to or killing more than I need. And in fact, when I play with a clock, it helps me slow down because my reflex is always to do everything as quickly as I can.
Yeah.
When I play with a clock, I glance at the clock and I know I have lots of time. Like when I play Cody, we wanted to practice with the clock, and at the end of the game, I still had 40 minutes left. I could have slowed down and taken even more time to think about my stuff. So that's something I'm trying to improve on my game.
Yeah, and it's good too when you have the clock, you don't feel that guilt. Like you can literally look at your opponent and you could be like. And like he doesn't get mad. Like, it's your time.
Yeah, I'll take 10 minutes to think about this, but it's fine. It's my time, right?
Like the famous story, at one ETC, Ridvin played a guy, and they had lots of time because they both played smaller armies, and the guy sat there and calculated the odds of his. I forget what units it were, but he had 3 targets. And he's like, which one do I shoot? And he did the odds on all 3 targets. Took him like 15 minutes. But he had the time, right? So I think that's why the clock's so important. And if you rush through your deployment and you get started and you go, and you have a small army like you do, you can just, I can calm down. What's going on? And sometimes doing nothing is like in our game, like you kind of saved. You were never. So I don't want to sound like a prick, but it's hard to say this. After about turn 2, you were never going to win the game.
Oh no, I knew that at the time, man.
But you played it that way, and so you hid your stuff, which actually denied me. I don't think I got. There was a turn I didn't even get kill. I think
2 turns.
Yeah, 2 turns. So you were like denying me kill. Yeah, that's right. Because it took me 2 turns to get through your dreadnought.
Because I was like, you're gonna win this game, but I'm not gonna make it easy.
But that's what I'm trying to get at is so you hid and you kind of protected your backfield after you got like, and then it was like once you cleaned up that boy, on the flank, and it was kind of cool because you were able to. essentially pull your second place, spoiler, because you got enough points, right? Or were you third?
No, I ended up third because Cody scored just high enough in his final game against Jeremy to pass me.
But you could be as low as fifth, right?
For the second place. That's what I was playing for. I'm like, I'm not going to win this game, but if I can claw enough points back, then maybe I'll have second place, which is what I was playing for at that point.
But it also causes me to play differently. So because you kind of kept the scores tight, now I can't start going crazy and trying to get max points and going for bonus points. There was turns I was like, I'm just going to sit in a building and take the Thunderfire cannons, right? Mm-hmm. And it was good because once you give that away to me, it's over. Right?
And that's the other thing too. If you had been a lesser player, maybe that forces you into a mistake, and then maybe something crazy happens and I can call it back fully, right? So you should never. I don't think you should ever at a tournament decide you've lost and just stop. Like, always try to claw a few more points. Even
or don't go for the Hail Marys. Yeah, because it was definitely like my turn almost went too good for me.
Because you ran out of stuff to kill.
but your stuff is so compact and kills so much that I'm not going to leave a plane alive. Like, are you crazy? Like, I'm not going to leave a tank alive.
Yeah,
like, I have to kill it because it's that much damage.
And the intercessor unit, it's hiding in this building and it's not coming out because if it comes out, it dies.
Yeah, and those in cover, I'm not going to move those. Like, and I ran out of I'm not going to throw a boy unit into 6 characters because they'll probably kill me. And I think you definitely turned it around in the end there, and it was really cool. It was nice to be up, but it's also like, well, it's on a knife's edge, right? You never let it get out of control.
And for me, it was the entire day was a learning experience because it always is. But that game was, again, like, how do you think tactically about not just what's happening now, but what will happen in the next half turn, and then the next full turn, and then a turn after that.
Yeah, because I made a few little mistakes. I just didn't get punished for them because I made them at a time in which maybe I didn't.
You were already up by enough that it wasn't.
Yeah, because part of me was I know I had the unit charge on the left flank, but I feel like I should have set up my other boy unit to go into the magic box in the middle of the table. Mm-hmm. But your Thunderfire cannon's probably still.
I would have. Even just 2 Thunderfire cannons, since one will be shooting twice, you're still looking at 24 strength 5 AP -2 shots coming at you, right? So it will still kill that unit.
Yeah, and there's a hole in the roof your planes would just shoot into.
Yeah. It wasn't a true magic box. There was a hole in the roof.
Because there was that one turn when I was trying to keep one orc alive, and I was trying to remove casualties in a way to split your firepower up, but you got them all anyway.
Yeah, because the planes were spread out in a way that there was no hiding from all of them.
Yeah, no, it was a really fun game. It was cool, and
great day.
I almost wish it would have been. I would have got less lucky because it makes you too cocky down going into the next. But because Iron Hands are still a scary thing, but I think they nerfed them enough that
and
they're not what they were.
And I think they've toned them down. They're still super strong, obviously, but they're no longer broken or as blatantly broken as they definitely were. They were stupid.
Well, I think now it's Marines are just as strong as they always have been since this book came out. But the Iron Hands were like an obvious, them and maybe Raven Guard were like the obvious choices. Now I think it's made room for the other codexes. Well,
now I'm looking forward to seeing what Imperial Fists can do because their +1 damage against vehicles is really going to hurt Iron Hands. So if your Iron Hands run into Imperial Fists, and Jean is thinking about running Imperial Fist at the next PNP, and he's going to bring 18 Heavy Bolter Centurions. I run into that with my Iron Hands army. If I go within 36 inches of those things, I'm dead. No ifs or buts about it, right? Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see how the meta shakes out with Salamanders and Imperial Fists coming out.
So are you going to change your list at all for the next one?
I'm getting rid of the Leviathan, for sure. I haven't decided.
Which is weird because he's good. It's just
but he spends 2 turns not shooting, so you end up with people zone him out, and then you have 300 points being a paperweight for like 2 of your 6 turns.
Because he was hard, and I think he's so survivable.
People just don't shoot it.
Yeah, you don't it. There's no incentive to shoot it.
There's no point shooting a Marine.
So smart players will outrange it and just ignore it. So I've got two things I'm thinking of. Well, 3 things, because I could just decide to have some fun and bring my Ultramarines, because they're also strong, maybe not as obviously so, but they're a fun army to play. Or if I keep my Iron Hands going, I either replace the Leviathan with a couple, and I think the points work out for that, a couple of quad las contenders. Yeah, contenders. And those units are really strong. So you can make one a character so it can't be targeted. I think there's one version of them that has 9 wounds. And then the other, you give the Iron Stone and a half damage strat, and it's basically unkillable anyway. So you do that. Or like I said, I go full out and bring 60 Stalker Bolter Intercessors. Which I think
either is fine. The other thing is if you're trying to practice for a CanHammer team, you can't really bring Forge World. So.
No, that's the thing.
Yeah. So why would you bring? You wouldn't make them Iron Hands and take the 60? Why would you make them Iron Hands?
So you probably would want to give them a successor trait, so they're always counters and cover outside of 12 to give them that 2-up always. Yeah, that's a smart way to do it. I mean, with the 6-up Yellow Pain, there's still art to shift, but at that point, if I'm bringing 60 Intercessors, I make them a successor that looks suspiciously like the Mother chapter, for sure. Because I'm not going to bring or you bring Theros and you keep them in the 5-up invulnerable bubble for the infantry, because that also combined with the 6-up Yellow Pain, they're going to live through last cannon fire at that point. Like, there's an argument I think for both tacks, but we'll see. I'm intrigued.
I'm not sold on that. I'm not sold. I think it's slow. Maybe if you took like some Blood Angel Smash Captains and a bunch of Intercessors, that way because what do you have that reaches out?
You're losing the reroll ones and move without penalty on your heavy weapons, which is a big deal to move. You could bring a Iron Hands Smash Captain with the Axe of Medusa and the Hero of the Imperium Warlord trait. At that point, I think he's up to Strength 8. Lots of AP, lots of damage. Like, he's not going to be as good as a Blood Angel Smash Captain, but if you keep him in a way where you can threaten a counter charge, people are going to have to play around him.
Oh, exactly.
So that's another Smash Captain's only good if you can feed it like 8 CP a turn.
Well, if I'm bringing 60 Intercessors,
that'll be able
we'll see. I'm still debating.
And that's it.
Well,
I think even if you don't go the Blood Angel route, just having the Smash Captains forces your opponent to screen really well, because those guys can fit into really tight spots. So you have to be very careful with your screening. It also changes because now, for the first 3 turns, you have to be completely filling your zone, which might take some of your dudes out of combat to kind of sit back, or it might delay a player from jumping up their back unit of boys, or forces the player to keep their grots back instead of maybe throwing them in buildings up front on objectives. So there is that option, like just something to go get them.
But the Intercessors, my eyes were open to how strong they can be with those Stalker bolt rifles when my Intercessors alone shot one of Cody's planes out of the sky. Because once you get those wounds through, on 5s, sure, but once you get them through, they're AP -3, so he gets a 6-up save. And everyone you get through is a flat 2 damage. They're pretty strong. But
what are you going to do against Eldar Flyers, though, right?
Yeah, well, if you keep them within a Chapter Master reroll bubble, even at -2 to hitting on 5s rerolling, you get half your shots through, then you're winning on 5s. It's still not bad.
Full rerolls is gross. It really is gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, and reroll once to wound with loot.
And then if
you're not getting them all in there.
I would still keep my 3 Intercessors, right? Interceptors. So I'd still have the 3 anti-flag.
Oh, good. Yeah, and you have your Thunderfire cans as well.
I would never get rid of those planes. The Interceptors, in particular, the Stormhawks, because they are -2 to be hit against fly, and +1 to hit fly, +2 with the Skyhammer missiles, you in a game where you're facing Eldar Flyer spam, you're actually not that afraid of it, because the Eldar Flyers will be hitting you on 5s. You'll be hitting them on 3s or 2s you're rolling 1s. It's crazy.
Yeah, because you'll be able to get well within their 12 too.
Yeah.
So you just gotta fade out.
You're not dependent on the 12-inch bubble to be -2 to hit. You're always -2 to hit against anything that's got to fly.
Yeah, I definitely feel a lot better about Marines after playing against them a few times, because they kind of got that rap on the internet way higher. But yeah, they definitely do a lot of really, really good things.
Well, this weekend, the majors that were happening this weekend, like I was looking at some stats today, and there's quite a bit of a variety of lists that won all sorts of tournaments. Like, Marines are not taking everything by storm.
Well,
that nerf was huge. That Iron Hands nerf was huge, man. Instead of having all your tanks -1, like the stone working on essentially all your vehicles, so you'd clump them all turn 1. Then people aren't... Think of all the damage I did to you throughout that whole game, all those wounds. Maybe those tank busters don't kill 2 planes, right, when you group them all together. And plus the 5-up invul, you stop 1 or 2 of those shots each time. I know the tank busters you had to 5-up anyway against them, but things like mech guns, and I know we're talking about orcs, but I I think those two nerfs for the Iron Hand specifically were very. They were even more powerful. Like they were bigger nerfs than I even at first thought they were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's definitely changes the way that you play the army, and I think ironically it makes the flyer version of the army even better because the flyer version of the build isn't nerfed as hard. So yeah, turn one you can clump everything and weather the Alpha Strike thanks to the Iron Stone and the 5-up, but flyers are going to fly away, right? They're not going to stay in that bubble. So
yeah,
yeah.
That's true. It made the flyers better.
That really just made it a very castle gunline type army. So now without needing Farios and the Ironstone, now you can play flyers, right?
The one thing that bothered me about that nerf was I didn't like that they limited the dreadnoughts to only one being a character.
I do like that.
But
I like it playing against them, but part of it is Iron Hands are supposed to be a very heavy dreadnought army, and dreadnoughts generally aren't so hot. There's a couple of the Forge World ones that are really gross, and maybe in the new book there's a few, but I think they're fairly balanced, right? Like
Dreadnoughts are very
it's not,
good now with full rerolls.
they're
and,
okay, yeah.
half damage, like they're really good.
Yeah, with you have the half damage, and they can just take the hits. Maybe if they wouldn't have done the half damage, then the character thing's fine. But I just thought that was when I saw that nerf, I was like, okay, all the dreadnoughts are gone now. You know, we haven't seen dreadnoughts in a long time, except for the odd.
You're seeing a bunch
Force.
now. You're seeing a bunch now because they're.
But
very
you're really
good.
not going to. You're going to see one, two.
You'll see two.
and
eight
it's
last
still
cannons.
It's still going to be the Forge World ones, yeah.
Yeah, so I just from my perspective as like an Iron Hands fanboy, I never played them, but they were one of my more favorite. I kind of like the bionics and the bits and things for them. But
Yeah, they're really cool.
it's just
My
kind of
army has the upgrade pack with the actual Iron Hand, like all the sergeants have metal hands on them. I think that's so
cool.
So you're a
Yeah,
fluff
so you-
bunny.
Well, flesh is weak, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I'm not changing my list at all. I'm very happy with the tank busters. I did miss the extra 30 boys, but I feel like taking them out of the list just made my games more enjoyable to play because it's just 30 less dudes. I also did an experiment. I'm working on movement trays for my grots on my mech guns, so they're actually magnetized on like a tray, so they just like you can move the gun, and I didn't. So that saves me by getting rid of the boys and working on that tray system for my mech guns. It removes 140 models that I have to move or deploy.
Nice.
So that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Because by the end of game 4, it's going to be backbreaking having to move this many
Dude,
models all day.
I can play like 8 games and not move that many models.
Yeah, it's crazy. But the tank busters for sure in the current meta are in for this tournament and to
Vehicle
boys.
stuff, man.
There's just I think back to that tournament, the chaos guy, which was Nick, was the only guy without vehicles.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Like, so
I mean,
you know,
Charlie was playing an infantry heavy orc list, so not super relevant there, but yeah.
well, exactly. Like there was one, and Will had like a bike heavy list, but he had some vehicle, like he had some mech guns. So you're gonna drop a bunch of mech guns.
Yeah.
But I just liked being able to deep strike a unit because I didn't take anything to hide them in. I didn't take a battle wagon or anything like that. But being able to put them in a ruin or able to deep strike them, just drop in and be like, those 2 planes are gonna get killed. My tank busters are gonna die, but I can remove that was huge.
Nick says he actually had 3 plate burst crawlers.
Oh, that's right, he did. That's right, he did. So I think they're effective in every game now. That was the big downside why I stopped taking tank busters in the past, is you would play a guy with no vehicles. Like a lot of Tau armies had no vehicles, and then you'd be like, these guys are a waste, and they're very expensive. But nowadays, they're just everywhere.
Yep.
There was no Tau player at PNP, was there? No.
No, and a lot of people play Mech Tau, following in, I think, Devin's footsteps, because he did so well in Ontario with Mech Tau.
Yeah. I mean, that Alpha Strike is scary. I've played against Ben as a Mech Tau army I've played against, and if he gets to go first and shoot all those missiles, he can sting.
The loss of the Castellan from most of the meta has really allowed vehicles to come out, and now, there's a lot of vehicles everywhere.
Yeah. It's really nice to have a unit that rerolls hits against vehicles and shoots missiles.
Yeah.
Well, and even against you, Francois, it was nice because I dropped him into a building, And I probably could have done this even better. Well, you had Thunderfire cannons, but like when you're playing against like Eldar flyers or Space Marine flyers, sometimes you can drop them on the first floor of a room,
and just shoot.
and all you have to do is see 2 flyers, and you can shoot out, stay on an objective, and hide. It works pretty good.
Yeah,
works pretty good. So anyway, any interesting tidbits you have, Darren, with your Space Marine play? Because I think we kind of went off the rails on Space Marines, but that's all the rage nowadays.
Well, I've played every chapter now except for Salamanders. I'm still looking for a Salamanders player out there. I think Adam is building his Salamanders now, but it's just I've had to really change the way that I play Custodes. Like, Francois, you've seen the games. Basically, I might do nothing for 3 turns, and just stay up, like stay even, and then I have to go for it at some point, very strategically. Like playing your Ultramarines is like, okay, I can't charge this blob of people. It's like worse than charging Tau, right? Like playing Iron Hand's even worse. Like 4 up Overwatch with full rerolls. That's basically like normal shooting. It's
but ITC Custodes in general have always been kind of I take half the board and I sit here army.
Oh, it's a very denial type play for sure.
Yeah, you're playing the denial game, not the attack game, which is good in ITC.
With my tanks at the back, I can normally push them up and use them in an obnoxious sort of Wave Serpent style, but that's hard to do when everything fucking shoots them off the board and easily in like 1 turn.
Well, they have 60-inch range, don't they?
On the now nerfed gun, yes. Which was nerfed literally the week before the Space Marine Codex came out. But yeah, so it's a really interesting dilemma, actually. So, I only lost once to Marines. I lost to the triple repulsor Iron Hands. So it's a really interesting challenge to try and meet. Like, yeah, they're super strong. I think Iron Hands probably needed that little bit of a fix, but they're still super strong. But now it's like, how can I beat Marines, right? Like, there are answers to that question. Obviously, Chris, your list is tuned very well to beat Marines. And so there's definitely, answers to that question. How can I beat Marines?
Some Marines, like, let's face it, if you start going super aggressive with things like Raven Guard and you got, drop captains and Thunderfire cannons, that can still mess me up really hard. I think it's just specifically the vehicle list that I deal with better, but there's a lot of really tricksy stuff in that book that, if you take away a few orc characters or if you tie up a few orc units and you can kind of keep them back, or if you can control the board against orcs, you will win.
Yeah, I'm looking at like John Lennon's list with the White Scars, 10 Centurions and Eliminators to take characters out, and then triple Thunderfire. Like, that's got a lot of tools for killing a lot of shit very easily.
Yeah, well, because I'm a crazy person, I have like 9 armies at either the November PNP or the December PNP. I've got tickets to both of those. I'm going for sure. I want to take my basically infantry Ultramarines army and see how that does in this kind of meta that's being all shaken out. Like lots of aggressors, lots of intercessors, infiltrators, stuff like that.
Yeah, sounds horrible.
and eliminators. Eliminators are so good.
I don't mind eliminators. They're kind of like easy kill more for me. But yeah. So if you follow the Custodes chat and the Tactica series, like, it's just constantly how I'm changing my list to handle Marines, right? It's like it's a nice dilemma. It's a nice dilemma, I gotta say. Otherwise, just like, okay, I'll just run the same thing all the time, like,
Yeah, they definitely shook up the meta a lot, which is really nice to see.
Didn't change Tau at all, it seems. 45 drones is the key to everything.
Yeah, Tau is what it is. Some of those older books have kind of been just turned into certain builds, and those are all that they have. Whereas the one, so I am a little bit frustrated with how good the Marines initially were and how they kind of have been doing. But I think it's better than them being the worst army in the game, because most people own a Marine army. Most people buy a Marine army. Their best fluff is Marines. It's like their poster boy. It's the most important thing in that universe. It's what distinguishes them.
Company.
And they were so crappy that nobody played them. And I think now it's a good thing to have Marines out there, right? Because they are the coolest thing. And if I didn't play on the ETC team, I would probably be playing Marines just for fun right now, right?
Yeah,
But
I think like when not Lions Blade, like Battle Company and stuff was good. Marines are normally you expect to go to tournament like what 50% of people there are playing Marines or 30% or whatever, and now that's just where it is right now, right? Whereas before it was like zero, like nobody would turn up with Marines, right? And that's just not like I think it's actually better for the game, not also good for the company, But
Well, at PNP this weekend there was 3 Marine armies, I would say,
yeah,
out
out
of
of
16.
16.
So it's not like it's half the field, right?
Well, that's also a very small sample size
That's true.
in I would say, a
It's a local meta.
medium
So,
low competitive level.
yeah.
So that means a lot of people aren't in a rush to switch armies, or they might take their time when switching an army, or they
Yeah.
might wait for a FAQ or a nerf.
Although for the next one, I know Jay and Jean are both bringing Imperial Fists. It's going to be more
Yeah.
Marines as time goes on.
What you're going to see too, I think, is so many people are not in October, maybe September. A lot of people kind of stop, that I know anyway. This is anecdotal. Stop buying and stop switching armies because what if it gets nerfed? What if the meta changes in chapter approved? So you heard a lot of things like, Chris, we love your orc list, but I'm not buying any mech guns because chapter approved is coming out.
Yeah.
So these people kind of are sitting in almost like a limbo, waiting for that to come out, which is slowing down kind of maybe our local meta. Whereas you got these guys in the States, they can probably borrow, or some of the bigger tournaments, they can probably borrow a couple things, or they don't care, right? They have some winnings, they go change them in at the store, so
Yeah.
not a big deal.
Like I actually initially I was gonna wait until all the books came out to start Marines and probably do White Scars, but now I just not to do it. Actually, I'm kind of having more fun playing against them than to sort of jump on the bandwagon and play them.
Oh, so no 8 impulsor list for you?
No, because I think Imperial Fist puts the end to that.
You guys think the impulsors are going to be a thing?
I got 2
I
that
think
I'm
so.
going to use in my Ultramarines army. I want to put like Thunderhammer, Sergeant, Intercessor, Veteran squads in them and just send them off like mini Smash Captains kind of thing. Use the impulsor to charge, take the Overwatch, bring the Sergeant
Four
with the
involved
Thunderhammer.
tanks that are super cheap, man.
So I got 2 that I need to paint for my Ultramarines.
Like they've
Not for
gone-
my Iron Hands, but
They've
I
gone
think
to
they're
such
good.
lengths to make sure there was no 4-up invuln vehicles, right? Like,
And then they give you a 97.4
and then
up inbound
boom, 4-up
transport.
invuln transport that you can now move first and then disembark. Yeah, so.
At least the saving grace is you can't put aggressors in them, because if you could put aggressors in those, they'd be too good.
Well, the saving grace is there's very few ways of getting aggressors where you need them to be,
Yeah.
right? Maybe that's a conscious design decision. The other interesting thing about Marines is, did they really intend for Centurions to be so good?
I think that's an accident.
Like, I'm sure the guy at the top was not like, okay, dude, let's sell a whole crap ton of Centurions, right? Like, those don't really look that good either. They're smaller than like an Intercessor now. So do you really think they wanted Centurions to be so good, right?
Yeah, those never fit in aesthetically to the range,
They
in
were
my
They're
opinion.
ugly.
I let my daughter paint them because like they were just gross. But
They were really good a few editions ago in like 6th. They were really hot, but now
Now you've got like
well, now they're
assault
really hot,
Centurions
but like
and,
until then they weren't.
So you wonder whether that's going to get, like, I'm sure they didn't intend for everybody to go out and buy 18 Centurions, They probably want people to buy aggressors, right?
Well,
Or
that's the
new
one thing about this
full
game in
stuff.
general, is when you start getting to these army level games, when you make the rule of 3, it now makes everything that's good in 3s.
Yeah.
So, if they nerf those, there's going to be something else. So it's just kind of the way it's going to be, right? The good stuff you take 3 of, right?
Yeah. It's just
Like-
interesting. It's gravitated towards the Centurions so much.
Well, it makes sense. They always had lots of firepower. They're super survivable. There's no real downside, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
again, another round of books where Terminators are not really a thing.
Yeah.
That's sad.
That was one of my biggest disappointments with the new Marine book is I would have liked to see them phase out a lot of the regular Marines.
Yes, me too.
Some of it looks silly when you put it side by
Just
side with the
silly.
new
The
stuff.
old Marines look stupid, like they really do.
Like my chaplain and my psyker and my ultramarines, I like built custom bigger bases to like raise them up so that they would fit in thematically with the army, because they look like children.
Characters look
Otherwise,
weird. Yeah, they
you
look
put
too
them next
small.
to intercessors.
Like even the new Marines make my custodies look not that big because they're actually almost as big, right? So yeah, I think the old Marines look really, and that's why like the Centurions look really weird in like a Primaris army, right? Like they're like these, square little boxes with little stuff.
They look like squats.
Out,
They're
right?
super bulky but short.
Yeah, so you gotta think that they didn't want everyone buying box loads of Centurions all the time, you know. But I don't know. Who knows?
What do you think of the Land Raider?
It's still bad.
I think it's still bad, but with the repulsor around, I don't. That's the new Land Raider, right?
Yeah, it kind of is, right?
It is. It's the same stats almost, like, and it shoots way better, and it flies.
I mean,
and you can't tie it up.
Yeah, you can't. The fact that you can lock up a Land Raider in combat is a big problem. I mean, if they gave it like an assault tank rule or something where it could fall back and shoot or drive over people, then maybe like some of the Guard super heavies have, where they can shoot into combat they're in. If they did that, then maybe. But it's just too easy to go. I'm touching you, and now your 300 point tank does nothing for a turn.
More than that,
I guess what I was thinking of is just like you could get it in cover, get it to a 1-up save quite easily, and then so if you're I don't know, might live more.
It's not that easy to put a Land Raider in cover.
It's a big thing, but also even if you do, it's
no bigger than a repulsor.
The guns it has are good, but nothing special. You could get the same firepower from better stuff.
Devastator squad. Yeah,
it's true. You can put all your characters in it though, regular Marine characters, but I guess that's not really an issue outside of ITC
and
anymore.
Now you have a Dreadnought for half the price who has 4 las cannons, hits on 2s, rerolls everything, can't target it because he's a character, can half damage. Like, it's actually harder to kill than a Land Raider and does way more damage. Right?
Yeah, I guess that's a shame. I don't know, it's a real shame.
Yeah, because it's a good looking unit. It's kind of an iconic part of 40K, the Land Raider. It's, Land Raiders have been around forever, and they've always been a big part of the fluff. They look awesome, but they're terrible.
Yeah, I guess Marines back in the day, they had hover, like they had land speeders and things like that. So it kind of makes sense for them to go to a more hover stance and let the Guard have the tanks. But yeah, maybe they should have called that out then or taken it out. But
way back in the day, like I'm talking early 90s, the Guard used to have skimmers, like grav units.
Yeah, I think I remember that. But that was when I was really young.
They also told Sammy that he had the only jet bike in the Imperium, and then my whole army came out. So,
Yeah, well, they redacted that. Yeah, because Custodes even had jet bikes in the Horus Heresy books.
Well, everybody had them, but in 40K, apparently, Sammy's was the only one left. But, I just happen to have a whole army of them.
Yeah, you just change that one line of fluff that was said in one thing, and it's done.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, you guys got anything else to add, or?
No, that's about it. I just want to let people know tomorrow night I will be playing against Adam, who I think came in like 13th or 14th at CCBB. He did really well with his pure admin.
He beat me in the last game that we played. We played the final round 6 against each other.
Yeah,
great guy.
I'm playing him tomorrow night live on the stream. We'll see how that goes, and so it should be fun. So tune in.
So I'm predicting you either stay out of line of sight of the robots, or wrap the robots, or you lose.
You don't need to wrap the robots. You just need to touch the robots.
Yeah, because they can't move once they play.
They can't fall back. Yeah. You just have to touch them. But
I'm not even scared of the robots. It's not normally my concern. It's these freaking dune crawlers with their neutron lasers, and it's these. I don't know if he's bringing destroyers, but they hurt. And
he did at CCBB.
Or breachers. He's bringing breachers.
And these Scorpius tanks are very nifty.
Mm-hmm. They're great.
They're small though. They're actually small.
Mm-hmm.
They look small.
They're kind of rhino size. They look weird. Yeah, they look weird.
They also look like they should have the fly keyword, but they don't.
No, they look like they should be like World War II.
Like Normandy landing craft.
Yeah, they don't really look like AdMech vehicles, which is kind of weird. Like, they're kind of weird looking. I don't really like them, but yeah.
I like them, but they're small.
Yeah.
And their rules are great.
So with that, guys, have a good one. Bye.
Good night.
Thanks.